Welcome back. Nearly 1.9 million residents of New York City live in lower income communities with limited access to healthy food, and data shows they are at risk of poor nutrition and rising rates of comorbidities. Our next guest is a certified personal trainer who has combined his passion for fitness and fashion to create a unique concept that empowers individuals to achieve their goals. Joining us now is the founder of iBE-FiT, Oscar Kemjika. Oscar, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Now, can you talk about your journey as a personal trainer and fitness professional?
Yeah, so I started off as a track athlete. Running track, my sophomore year in high school was the beginning of my journey. From then, fitness was just a life, a way of life. And it was natural for me to gravitate towards, how to perform better, eating the right foods before competition, and that led me into studying exercise science here at Lehman College. That's my alma mater. And then from there, I decided to start my own brand, start my own company that is reflective of who I am as an individual first and as a fitness professional. So iBE-FiT was born. And iBE-FiT is Ebonics, it's hip hop. I grew up on hip hop and fashion, growing up in the Bronx, New York. And heavily influences the Ebonics that comes from it. It's a statement. iBE-FiT, like I does this. I be that dude, you know what I'm saying? So I brought that flair to my brand because it's reflective of me. And the IBE, that part comes from my name. I'm of Nigerian descent, and my name is Ibe Zim, which means I learned from my companions, or my mates have taught me to be wise. So that short part, the first three letters, IBE, I created an acronym, which stands for I, innovate, B, believe, E, empower. So that's my catchphrase, innovate, believe, empower. And innovation comes from my hip hop influence, like creativity, changing something to make it something better. And then belief is swag, your confidence and belief in yourself that you can become more fit, that you can become the best version of yourself. And empower, teaching others to do the same and make them feel like a superhero.
I like that. I like that there's so many ways to like interpret it. Like there's so many just like layers to the name. So I think that's amazing. Can you detail the moment that you knew you wanted to make this shift and do something more?
Yeah, I think I'm a natural entrepreneur at heart. I say that because I had my first job was working at a bookkeeping at a daycare center. I was a bookkeeper, and I didn't like any bit of that except for when we did recess to play with the kids outside. So fitness and activity and being active, that's what I'm about. And I just knew that I needed to do something in that area. But even high school came, and I was good at math and science, and I thought I was going to become an engineer. And then calculus 2 happened in college. And I was like, wait a minute, I need to be more applicable, more hands-on. And as an athlete, it was just second nature to transition into the fitness profession.
Now, how does iBE-FiT empower individuals to make bold statements through apparel and actions?
All right, so growing up, I was influenced by Spider-Man. That was my favorite Marvel superhero. And I always wanted to emulate what I saw as a superhero. And I thought that, iBE-FiT could be something that can empower people with that statement. Like, even if you're not as fit as you want to be, start where you are, and then look yourself in the mirror and say, I can do this. I am this already. And then walk that line. It starts with the proclamation. It starts with the belief in yourself. And that's one of our statement, I innovate, B, believe. You have to believe that you can achieve it and then walk that walk.
Now, you know what I also like when you mentioned Spider-Man, that for so many superheroes, their suit is like a huge part of their confidence.
Absolutely.
And it adds so much to like who they are. So,
Yes.
I mean, I love the idea of like, I didn't think about this before, but like how you dress, especially when you're trying to get fit or enter the gym, could really add so much confidence, whether that's just how your clothes fit, you're not being self-conscious about how you look.
Yes.
Because I know like sometimes if you're feeling too self-conscious, you're like kind of afraid to put yourself out there and
Yeah.
give it your all. So I kind of love seeing that connection.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Now, what certifications and qualifications do you hold in the field of fitness and exercise science?
I have a bachelor's degree in exercise science, and I also hold several certifications through NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, sports performance specialist, also corrective exercise specialist, fitness nutrition specialist, golf fitness specialist, and also I just did behavioral change specialist as well recently.
Oh, can you talk a little bit more about behavioral change?
So behavioral change, it's very useful in that it meets people where they are mentally before we even talk about the physical, because mentally you have to want to change. It's premeditated. First, you got to think about it and then take action. So behavioral change tackles your habits and then your thoughts, because your thoughts become habits, and then habits become, your destiny. So we try to tackle it with positive thoughts first, trying to get away from bad habits that they had in the past because of their negative thoughts, transfer that into positive thoughts, the can-do attitude, and then instill some belief in them so that they can take some action steps towards becoming what their goals are and achieving their goals.
Now, I love that you're talking about positivity and just recognizing that a lot of it is mental. I think that sometimes when we're like scrolling on Instagram and we see a lot of these fit people, and sometimes I like that you're also certified, because sometimes people are not, they may be
Right.
good at what they're doing, but
Yeah.
they're not certified, and maybe they don't know how to approach people who are trying to make that change. And then I think sometimes it could feel exclusive, like maybe I don't belong here. Can you talk a little bit more about making this space something that people feel that they belong?
So I always look at, what's your why? Because everyone's why is different. If your why is because you want to post on social media when you're going out to Cancun with your homegirls, crop top bathing suit and all that, maybe that's a strong enough why for some people. They like the likes, the adrenaline that comes from people, giving them some approval. But it's deeper than that. It should be, because if you have health problems, or if you're trying to prevent health problems, if you have a family history of diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, this is a strong enough why for you to really tackle your goals, and then form a tribe, or if you're just become part of one. There's a lot of, speaking of social media, there's a lot of groups with people that look like you. Find that so you can have a support system, so you're not feeling out of place, and you people are having the same march towards a goal. That's going to help you achieve them.
Now, talking about March, this isn't necessarily a march, but you recently held a third annual iBE-FiT 5K.
5K,
Can you talk about that and what it's all about?
Yeah, so my third annual iBE-FiT 5K Invitational was just recently on June 3rd at Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx, New York. It is a community event. I like to think of it as that. So when people look at 5K, they get discouraged. Some people think it's like a marathon. It's far from a marathon. It's a fraction of a marathon. A marathon is 26.2 miles. This is 3.1. And you don't have to run the whole thing. You can walk, you can jog, you can walk with your friends, you can talk while you're doing it, as long as you finish. And then after finishing, you're awarded a medal. That's a token of appreciation from iBE-FiT. We applaud you for achieving that goal. And then you have something tangible that you could take home with you to let you know that I was there on this event. I did my 5Ks. A lot of people, it was their first 5K. I was so happy that, they finally made it. They finally achieved something. And then the next thing is a 10K, possibly a half marathon, and eventually a marathon. So this is something that can get people jump started towards their fitness goals.
Now, I like that you mentioned that it's not just running, because I think it allows more people to feel like it's something that they can be a part of and something that they can do. Because I know when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, I would not be able to do this. But the fact that I'm like, oh, you can walk or jog, it's like it meets people where they're at. What was the experience like being a part of something like this? And, how do you even prepare to be a part of something like this?
Well, I started this in 2021 during the pandemic. And I was even blessed to get the permit. I was nervous at first when I applied. I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm, what the heck, let me try. And then I got the approval, and then, I said, okay, let me run with it now, because now I got a chance to really do something big. And I did it, and that first annual was something that was a huge success in that it brought people together. It was a lot of people's first 5K, and then also it made me realize that people just need more community events. And I think that can solve a lot of issues that we have in society today, especially when we talk about obesity, especially in the Bronx. There has to be more events like this, not just 5K walks for causes, but also just community events that, promote health and fitness, at least the awareness of it, And I think that's what my event did, especially that first year.
Now, I love that you talked about the Bronx, because I think that a lot of times when we see these these types of runs, it's somewhere in Manhattan, you got to go somewhere far, and it's nice to see that there's a community of people in the Bronx that want to be fit, want to be healthy. Can you just talk about the importance of that and the impact it has on the community?
Yes, it's very important that we do this. First of all, the Bronx is sometimes the forgotten barrel, which I don't really like. I think the Bronx needs to really stand up tall and be proud. We're about to celebrate 50 years of hip hop August 11th. So let's soak that in for a second. And we have a lot of historical parks as well. Speaking of, so there's this event and other events should be more implemented because the funding that the city gives, I don't think is enough. I think we should really hammer home what about the community? Instead of just preaching to us about the statistics, about, the percentages of obesity, we know that now. So what are we going to do about it? And have people that are really in the community, in the trenches, bringing forth events like this to the Bronx communities to make a huge difference. And I encourage this. I encourage picnics again, block parties again, cookouts again, that also have seminars and professionals that come together that can offer their services and make a real impact and a real difference.
Now, how did the event raise funds for new iBE-FiT athletic apparel, and which organizations will benefit from the proceeds?
So so I had some donations. Oh, so on one sign up, I have a donation link that people can send donations to directly to even if they did not participate in the 5K, they can send donations to the two causes that I have. One of them being the Good News to Scholars. Good News to Scholars Inc. is an organization that promotes mentorship and scholarships for underprivileged kids and also kids that need assistance to get to school, to get to college out of high school. The other organization was RCCG Tabernacle of Restoration. That is my church. We're located in the Bronx. We have a huge building project that we've been implementing and getting funding for the past 6 years now. So we really want to finish that off. And it's going to be also community events too. We do community outreach. We do food pantry. We reach out to the community in different ways. So it's for a good cause in that regard. And also it's something to help jumpstart this community of health and fitness awareness that we really need. We need more of that.
Now, prioritizing fitness, I believe, can only just add to your growth, even if it's hard. It's not always easy. I'm kind of on my journey now, and there's sometimes I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember why I'm doing this. So it's not easy, but it can only add to your growth. But I also want to talk about nutrition and how that's extremely important. But a lot of the times people can often overlook that. I know from myself personally, I was going to the gym every day because that's what I saw online, people in the gym. And then I was like, I'm not seeing any changes because I'm not changing how I eat. Can you just talk about how nutrition is also important or maybe just as important as fitness?
So you want to look at fuel as food and food as fuel. The first thing we got to look at, the relationship that we have with food. A lot of times it's, oh, it's time for breakfast. Let's fill our stomach during breakfast time. It's lunchtime, same thing, dinner time. But when you work out different times of the day, you want to make sure that you're fueling your body to work out, right? And when doing so, you're also increasing your body's metabolism. So when you consume food, think of it as fuel to do something, whether it's to work, stand long hours of the day. If you're a security guard, you have to stand up 8 hours a day. Think about that. If you're a desk worker, if you're sitting at your desk, what snacks do you have at your desk? Is it making you feel drowsy or have the itis? Or is it giving you the energy that you need to go work out after work shift? Mm-hmm. So this relationship with food, we have to think of it as fuel for the body. That's the first thing. Second thing, nutrient-rich foods does our body good in that it increases satiety, meaning satisfaction levels. Empty calories do the opposite. A lot of the empty calorie foods are the not so good foods that we crave because our body is just craving either sugar or it just needs something to put in because we didn't reward it with the high nutrient foods to give us the energy to be more productive and proactive, right? So the relationship with food has to be fuel for the body to do something, to burn more calories. You're taking in calories to burn calories and do more and be more productive, move more, right? So movement is key as much as, what you eat is also important. Bowel movements also too. More bowel movements, the less pounds you keep around.
Now, I kind of want to also highlight, because you talked about just kind of your relationship with food. Yeah. But I think at least here in the Bronx, there's so many different cultures, and a lot of our cultures, how we celebrate, it's always with food. After graduation, let's go eat. Yeah. You want to hang out with your friends, you're going to eat. How do you navigate that? And I'm curious to know about your experience as well. You talked about your background being Nigerian. So many foods, that are a part of that. How do you navigate that when you have such a rich culture?
It's tough. I'm going to say that. And yes, we love celebration. We love going out to eat, graduation, baby shower.
Right.
Any celebration, there's an excuse to, celebrate it with some nice, rich food. But I think that we also have to look at balance. So if you know you're gonna do that, if you know you're gonna go eat after a celebration, why not work out the day before, or the same day, day of, in the morning, or after, or day after? So this is a lifestyle thing. It's not just a temporary fix. So we don't just look at it like, okay, I have 5 graduation parties to go to in the month of June. That means my whole diet for June is gonna be messed up. So I'm gonna start in July. We procrastinate because we're trying to look for perfection when it comes to eating right and working on our diet. That's not the right approach. Think of it as, okay, I know I'm burning the calories that I'm about to consume, but I'm gonna be smart about what I do for the rest of the week too. This occasion on a Saturday, Sunday, whenever it is, that can't be my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? So everything is in balance and piecemeal and being smart about your whole lifestyle and habits.
And like you talked a little bit earlier about like behavioral. I can imagine, is this where that comes into play?
Yes, that's part of it, is taking small steps to change, to large change. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a
And
process.
how do you I guess, because like I want to talk about how that, you're making, like for anybody, you're making a big change, right? And it's two things. You have to think about like what you're eating and being active.
Yeah.
So those are two things that you're adding to your life to try to change it. How do you navigate that, or like what advice would you give to somebody who's like, I want to accomplish all of this right now? I can imagine that's like very, very overwhelming. So
Yeah.
how do you navigate that?
I spoke about the why, which is important, but I'm also going to add to that, have an accountability partner. When you have an accountability partner, or if you're part of a tribe that has similar goals, it helps you stay accountable, and it also gives you that kind of that cushion of support that's needed for something that might be a daunting task. It's not easy. It's not easy making lifestyle changes, but if you have a support system and then you have a strong enough why, and then someone watching you, so that friend or that coach that's not letting you slip up, that's always on your back, you need that, right? And then that you draw strength from that, and that's going to help push you to making better choices and achieving your goals.
Now, I also want to, you talked about that, and I think it's so important. Sometimes you may have somebody to like have that relationship with you. How do you do it in the right way where you don't make that person feel like, because I think sometimes when you talk to people and you say like, oh, you probably shouldn't be eating that,
Yeah.
they'll probably get defensive, or, they'll put their guard up. How do you kind of make sure that it's a healthy relationship and that person is holding you accountable in a way that doesn't close you off from ever having access to them or trying to help them again?
So I try to be as I'll be as open as possible. I'm always honest though, but I'm not blunt to the point where it's hurting anybody's feelings. I tell them, this is your goal, right? I always remind them about their goal. It's not my goal, this is your goal. This is what you said you want to accomplish. That's first thing. Second thing, I try to also encourage their little wins, the small victories that they did have. Because yeah, you can reprimand them, you can punish them for the things that they mess up in, but you also have to praise them for the things that they did well. And a lot of times that helps encourage them that, yeah, I could do this, He acknowledges the things that I've done well too. He's not just, bashing me for slacking. And that has worked with my clients in the past, and a lot of people that I know, just having that person that's gonna always push you and applaud you when you do well, but keep you in check when you do mess up. That's important.
Now, I want to talk about the future of iBE-FiT. What do you hope to see? How do you hope to see it grow? And how do you envision it making a positive impact on individuals in our community?
Man, so the first thing, we're going to continue on the 5K Invitational. Every year at Van Cortlandt Park. It's going to be in the Bronx at Van Cortlandt every year. Let's just get that out the way. The Bronx needs more of this annual event. And I think that we want to continue to grow as we have been doing since the first and the second, the third, more participants. That's one thing, to bring more awareness to health and fitness. The other thing is more events. I don't want to just have one event per year. When I finished this last one, people was like, okay, when's the next one? That's the same thing they said last year. So now I know that the first Saturday in June every year ain't going to cut it. That's not good enough. We need to collaborate, partner with other health and fitness professionals across the Bronx and even the tri-state. Really get this word out with more impactful community events. That's one of my goals for iBE-FiT. The other thing, with the fitness apparel, I really wanted to make it like a statement apparel, where when you wear iBE-FiT on your chest, you actually mean that. Like what it says, it's a statement that you're following through on, right? No matter where you are in your fitness journey, you're getting there, and you can do it with belief, and you're empowering others to do the same.
Well, Oscar, thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation. I had a lot of fun talking about this.
Yeah.
Fitness in general is sometimes like there's so many emotions that can go along with it, but I always enjoy learning more about how myself and like how my community can, work towards that journey to becoming more fit. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.